When I first met my mother-in-law, she was warm, welcoming, even sweet. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe and told me, "You're good for my son." Back then, I believed her. But 6 months ago, she moved in. "Just for a little while," she said. Weeks turned into months, and my home no longer felt like mine. At first, it was small things. "You're using too much detergent, honey? That'll ruin the fabric." Oh, back in my day, we didn't waste money on fancy cleaners. I laughed it off, adjusted a little, but then it spread the way I folded towels, swept the floor, even loaded the dishwasher. Nothing escaped your inspection. And then came the cooking. It didn't matter what I made, she always had a comment. Hovering in the kitchen like a health inspector, her eyes followed every move I made. "Too much salt, dear." Back in my day, we didn't need all those seasonings. Or my favorite, "That doesn't look like enough for my son." Every word felt like a paper cut small, but painful. I kept smiling, kept swallowing my frustration. My husband stayed quiet, pretending he didn't notice. He hated conflict, but sometimes I wished he'd just say, "Mom, let her be." That night, I told myself things would be different. I wanted to make a dinner that shut her up without a word. Grilled chicken breasts, golden and juicy. A fresh tomato pasta, sautéed garlic, onion, and tomatoes until they're melted into rustic perfection. A green salad bright enough for a magazine spread. And for me, a piece of salmon, because I didn't want chicken. Blackened skin curling and crisp, smoky like I loved. The kitchen smelled heavenly. Garlic sizzling in olive oil, pasta soaking up the sauce, salmon skin crackling. For the first time all day, I felt peace. As I set the table, I whispered, "Please, God, let tonight be different." But deep down, I knew better, because with my mother-in-law, peace wasn't on the menu. The pasta was ready, steaming and fragrant. I sprinkled a little fresh basil on top and smiled to myself. The chicken breasts rested on a plate, golden brown under their foil tent. My salmon was almost done, the skin perfectly blackened, curling up at the edges like charred petals. This meal was beautiful, balanced, healthy. I plated everything with care, humming softly as the kitchen filled with the warm scent of garlic and olive oil. My husband would be home any minute, and for once, I wanted dinner to feel like dinner, not a battlefield. Then I heard it, the sound of slippers shuffling across the tile floor. Her entrance music. My mother-in-law appeared in the doorway, arms crossed like a queen surveying her kingdom. Her eyes swept the counters, then me, like she was looking for a mistake. "What's that smell?" she asked, nose wrinkling. I forced a smile. "Dinner." She moved closer, peeking into the pot like she expected to find a dead rat. "Did you put spaghetti sauce in that?" "No," I said calmly, tossing the pasta with the tomato mixture. I sautéed garlic, onions, and fresh tomatoes. Simple and fresh. "Oh," her eyebrows shot up in marked surprise. "So, no sauce? Just tomatoes?" I gripped the spoon tighter. "Yes, just fresh tomatoes." She sniffed dramatically. Something smells like it's burning." I took a slow breath. "That's my salmon. I like it blackened." "Blackened?" she repeated, like the word offended her. Why would anyone want burnt fish? My jaw tightened, but I didn't answer. I plated the salad, a perfect mix of crisp greens, cherry tomatoes, shredded cheese, and set it on the table. She stabbed the salad bowl with a serving spoon, lifting a piece of lettuce like it had personally insulted her. "Does this have cheese?" "Yes," I said evenly. "Yuck." She dropped it back into the bowl and grabbed a plate of pasta. Before even tasting it, she reached for the Italian dressing and poured it all over the noodles. "It looked dry," she said, drowning my carefully made pasta in bottled dressing. I exhaled through my nose, gripping the counter to keep from snapping. Then came the kicker. She glanced at the chicken and asked, "Is that enough for my son?" I turned slowly, smiling like my teeth hurt. "Yes, if he wants more, he can ask me or help himself." She smirked. Back in my day, a wife made sure her man never had to ask for food. The words landed like a slap, and something inside me cracked. Dinner should have been peaceful. I really did. I smiled. I kept my voice calm. I reminded myself, she's just opinionated. Don't take it personally. But then she sat down. My husband was halfway through his plate when she spoke, swirling her pasta, still swimming in Italian dressing. "It's different," she said, finally, her tone like a blade wrapped in silk. Not what I'm used to. I gave her a polite smile. Glad you're trying something new. She chuckled without humor. Well, back in the day, pasta had real sauce, not just tomatoes. I stabbed my fork into my salad a little too hard. Don't react. Don't give her the satisfaction. My husband tried to lighten the mood. It's good, babe, he said to me, flashing a grateful smile. But she wasn't done. As he set his fork down, she leaned forward, eyes darting between his plate and mine. Is that all you're giving him? He looks hungry. I froze. Slowly, I looked at her. He said he's full, I said carefully. She waved a hand like my words didn't matter. Back when I cooked, he never had to ask for more. I always made sure my son was fed. Something inside me snapped like a dry twig. You always question everything I do, I said, my voice low, sharp, and shaking with anger. What I cook, how I serve him everything. She blinked, clearly surprised I'd spoken up. Then her lips curled into a smug smile. I'm just making sure my son is taken care of. Someone has too. My fork hit the plate with a clang. My husband stared at me, then at her, caught in the crossfire. His eyes pleaded, please don't fight, please. But I couldn't stop now. Well, guess what? I said, meeting her glare head on. He's taken care of. And if he wants more, he can ask me or get it himself. He's not a child. The air grew heavy, thick enough to choke on. My husband cleared his throat, trying to smile like everything was fine. But it wasn't. This wasn't just about pasta. This was about power. And for the first time, I realized something. She wasn't just criticizing my cooking. She was challenging my place in this house. And I was done playing nice. The next day felt strange. Quiet, but heavy. My mother-in-law didn't hover in the kitchen that morning. She didn't offer her usual fake sweet good morning. Instead, she stayed in the living room, scrolling on her phone with her lips pressed into a tight line. For a moment, I thought maybe just maybe last night's tension had taught her to back off. But with her, silence was never peace. Silence was strategy. By evening, I decided to keep dinner simple. Leftover chicken turned into crunchy tacos. I hummed as I warmed tortillas, trying to shake off the lingering anger. 2 tacos for my husband, 1 for me. That would be enough. Then her voice cut through the calm like a knife. How many are you making for my son? I froze, slowly turned. She stood there, arms folded like a queen inspecting her servant. 2, I said flatly. Her eyebrows shot up. 2. I always made him 4 or 5. I gripped the spatula tighter. My heart thudded in my chest, heat rising in my face. You act like I don't know what to serve my husband, I said, voice low but firm. He's not a child, and he's not the man he used to be. He can't eat like that anymore. He's diabetic. Do you want him sick? Her mouth tightened. I just think he needs more food. That's all. No, I snapped, slamming the spoon on the counter. That's not all. You question everything I do, what I cook, how I serve him. And I am done. Her eyes narrowed, sharp and cold. I'm just trying to help. Help, I laughed, the sound bitter. No, you're trying to control. And it stops now. For a long, tense moment, neither of us moved. The only sound was the sizzle of chicken in the skillet, filling the silence like background music to a war. Then she smiled. Not a warm smile, a slow, deliberate curve of the lips. We'll see, she whispered. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. This wasn't just a disagreement. This was a battle. And it wasn't over. Dinner started calm, almost a calm. My husband sat at the table, scrolling on his phone while I plated 2 tacos, each stuffed with shredded chicken, lettuce, pico, guacamole, cheese, and a drizzle of sour cream. I set the plate in front of him. Looks amazing, he said, smiling up at me. Thanks, babe, I replied, kissing his cheek. If you want more, let me know. He bit into the first taco, nodding in approval. I let myself relax just a little. Then she appeared. My mother-in-law slid into the chair across from him, eyes darting from his plate to me like a hawk spotting prey. That's all you're making him? She asked, voice sugary but sharp. Yes, I said evenly. 2 for now. If he wants more, he'll ask. She let out a short laugh, full of judgment. 2 tacos. I always made him 4 or 5. My jaw clenched. He said he's fine. She ignored me, leaning closer to him. Son, that's really all you're going to eat. He wiped his mouth. Mum, I can't eat like before. 3 will be plenty if I want another. 3, she repeated, her tone rising. When you were with me, you could finish 6 without blinking. He gave a nervous laugh. Mom, I'm not 20 anymore. But she didn't hear him. Her glare locked on me like a loaded gun. This is your fault, she snapped. You're cutting back his portions, making him eat like a bird. I set the spatula down with a loud clack. My voice came out steady but cold. He's diabetic. This isn't about starving him, it's about keeping him healthy. Oh, please, she scoffed. He gets full because you use all that olive oil nonsense. Back when I cooked, he never left the table hungry. I stepped closer, my hand shaking, but not from fear, from fury. If he's hungry later, he'll eat more chicken. But I will not make him sick to prove something to you. The silence that followed was deafening. My husband sat frozen, staring at his plate like it might save him. And in that thick, heavy pause, one truth hit me like a punch. This wasn't just about food. It was about control. And I wasn't backing down. I turned to the sink, cluttering dishes into it, each slam of a pan echoing like a warning shot. My heart still thundered in my ears. Oh, I was going to help, she said sweetly, like nothing had happened. I'm almost done, I replied, not looking at her. When I finally turned, she was still standing there, arms crossed, face unreadable. But her eyes, they burned with quiet fury. That night, she didn't touch the tacos. She made herself a sandwich instead. The next day, it was the same. And the day after that, she stopped eating my food completely, lived on sandwiches and hot dogs, as if to make a point. And honestly, that was fine by me. Because for the first time in months, my kitchen felt like mine again. But I wasn't naive. Her silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. And I knew, deep down, that this war wasn't over. The house was quiet, but it wasn't peace, it was tension. Thick enough to slice with a knife. For the next few days, my mother-in-law barely spoke to me. No comments about my seasoning. No hovering in the kitchen. No fake smiles. She stayed in her lane, literally lounging in the living room like a queen in exile. At first, it felt like a win. I cooked without her hovering over my shoulder, without the passive-aggressive remarks that made me question every sprinkle of salt. For a moment, I actually enjoyed the silence. But the silence had weight. It wasn't relief, it was punishment. Every clink of her coffee cup, every exaggerated sigh as she scrolled through her phone, was a message: you crossed a line. My husband noticed the tension too. Babe, she's just adjusting, he said one night as we cleared the table. Adjusting? I laughed, sharp and bitter. She's been here 6 months. She's not adjusting, she's controlling. He rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my eyes. She means well. I wanted to scream, but instead I said nothing. Because what was the point? He'd always be her son first. So I focused on what I could control. My kitchen, my meals, my sanity. But in the pit of my stomach, I knew this wasn't over. Women like her don't give up. They retreat, regroup, and come back swinging. And when she did, I had to be ready. Week later, I got my answer. I was walking down the hall when I heard her voice drifting from the living room, soft, sweet, poisoned honey. Yes, he barely eats now, she said into her phone, tone dripping with pity. She feeds him like a bird. I don't know how he puts up with it. I froze mid-step. My fist clenched, nails biting into my palms. My ears burned with rage, but I stayed silent, listening as she continued her little performance. She means well, bless her heart, she added, the ultimate southern dagger. But I worrying about my boy. He's lost so much weight. I wanted to march in there and call her out. To scream, he's healthier now than he's been in years. But instead, I walked into the kitchen and started chopping vegetables with the kind of focus that could slice through bone. She sauntered in a few minutes later, pretending nothing happened. Smells interesting, she said, sniffing the air. I smiled, calm and sharp as glass. Thanks. That night, I plated dinner like a queen serving a king, perfect portions. Colors popping, flavors balanced. My husband took one bite and moaned, "Babe, this is amazing." His words were a weapon. I didn't look at her, but I felt her glare like heat on my skin. She didn't say a word, but she didn't have to. The war was back on. The weeks that followed were strangely satisfying. My mother-in-law stuck to her sandwiches and hot dogs like it was a protest. Every evening, she'd shuffle into the kitchen, open the fridge with exaggerated force, and slap a slice of ham onto bread while I plated dinner for my husband. The clatter of her butter knife was loud enough to make a statement. But here's the thing, my husband didn't miss her cooking. Not even a little. He loved my meals. Clean, flavorful, balanced. He'd sit down, take a bite, and smile like I'd just handed him gold. And every time, he said, "Babe, this is perfect," I'd glance at her out of the corner of my eye. Her lips would twitch, her eyes darken, but she said nothing. Then came his doctor's appointment. I waited anxiously in the car, scrolling aimlessly on my phone until he slid into the passenger seat, grinning like a kid on Christmas. "Guess what?" he said. "What?" "My A1C is down. Blood sugar's better than it's been in years. The doctor told me to keep doing whatever I'm doing." Relief and pride surged through me, warm and electric. "That's amazing, babe." He kissed me, laughing. "It's all because of you." That night, as he bragged to his mum about his results, I watched her face. She smiled tightly, nodding, pretending to be happy. But her eyes told the truth. She hated that my way worked. And in that moment, I realized something. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to slam pans or fight for control. I'd already won. I used to think the kitchen was just a place for cooking. But I've learned it's a battlegrounder. Place where power shifts with every stir of the spoon, every portion on a plate. My mother-in-law came into my home thinking she could run things like she always had. But this isn't her house. It's mine. And if this war taught me anything, it's that love isn't about stuffing someone full until they can't breathe. Love is about health, care, and respect. She still makes her sandwiches, avoiding my meals like they're poison. And that's fine, because every time I set a plate in front of my husband and see the smile on his face, I know I'm doing right by him. And her silence, that's the sweetest victory of all. As I wiped down the counter that night, listening to the hum of the fridge and the clink of my husband's fork against his plate, I smiled to myself. Because the truth is, this battle was never really about food. It was about boundaries. And finally, they're set in stone.